Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Ashley, as I say, from Reprise, content strategist, work across SEO and PR. Let's get straight into it. I know what you're thinking when you see a title like that. The words don't make sense together. It's sort of a new phrase. It looks like I've picked terms out of the marketing playbook, thrown them on the table and presented a title, and that's where we're at. Hopefully we can spend some time over the next 20 minutes coming to terms with where I see that future, what I mean by search integrated influencer. So let's get right into it. So let's start with the what. What is search integrated influencer marketing? Well, really, it's a combination of these three things. So essentially, it's the creator-led SEO. It's bringing content creators into our branded conversations, bringing them into the fold, bringing user-generated content, combining that with our branded efforts, all to appease Google in terms of EEAT, show that first-hand experience, show that expertise, build authority, and develop trustworthiness with our audience. In combination with those things, it's the merging of the lines, the blurring of the lines between demand generation content and demand capitalization content. Now, what I mean by this is demand generation content, that's the stuff we do in PR, it's influencer, it's social, it's all that stuff that's going to build hype for a brand. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have demand capitalization, which is our SEO activations and stuff we do from an SEO point of view. If we can blur the lines there, we can essentially get higher engagement per piece of content, make it work harder, and get our brands more return on investment for their investments. So that's it, that's search integrated influencer marketing. We can all get to the bar. We're all good. Everybody aware? Didn't think so. So, okay, let's break it down a little bit. Let's look at the specifics of what is search, what is influencer, and then tie it all together. So if we start with what is search content is content that exists to inspire, educate, and entertain. These are my three North Stars that I'm always looking to achieve in every piece of content that I put out. If we can achieve these three things, I'm a long way of achieving the goals of my SEO strategy. In April, I stood on main stage at Brighton and I told everybody that it was making people give a shit about something. I'd say in the last 6 months, I've matured this thought process a little bit, and now we're at a stage where actually it's more about signalling that our brands give a shit about the same things as our community and audiences. It's not enough to just make a user care more about that thing that they're searching for. We need to be really making a conscious effort to put our brands at the heart of that conversation so that when they recall that thing that they're invested in or that search that they've made, our brands are front and center of mind. Then if we flip the coin and we look at the other side of the conversation, we've got influencer or creator content. So what is creator content? Well, similarly to SEO content, it's content that's looking to inspire, educate, and entertain. So just as these three North Stars sort of guide our SEO content from brands, they're also looking to do this as content creators. If they can do this, then it's likely that they're going to get more subs, more followers, and more fans of their content. It's a creator sharing their experiences and their thoughts about something that they believe is important to their audience. And finally, it's sending a community signals that a creator cares and is invested in the same things as their audiences. Ultimately, both sides of that coin that we've just covered are looking to build relationships. This is vital for SEO going into 2024. It's vital for PR going into 2024. If we can build relationships, that's what's going to put our brands and content creators front of mind. So there's lots of similarities between search and between influencer, between creator content, which means that search integrated influencer, and I am going to butcher that because I say that a lot through this deck, and I'm going to absolutely butcher it sometimes. It's a match made in heaven. So we should be looking to partner those two, leverage the advantages of both within our strategies. So that's the what, and it's a little bit of the why, but why should you be doing it from an SEO, from a PR point of view? What are the advantages of it? Well, what I do is I always look to previous examples, and this is an example of an influencer campaign that was absolutely chef's kiss perfect. Essentially, we have the Sidemen partnering with Revolut, who are a financial app, and their goal as a business is to make financial services more accessible to more people. And if they can do that, then obviously they're going to grow that customer base and audience base. On the other side of this, you have the Sidemen, who are a massive group of influencers. I'm sure most people in this room are aware of who they are. Names are present at the top if you're not. But essentially, these are the go-to guys when we're talking Gen Z and millennial audiences. So in terms of an influencer relationship, the timing, the choice of influencer, the achieving the brand goals. This was absolutely spot on. And the results at the bottom speak for themselves. So this got 70 million impressions in the first 3 months, 100,000 app installs of the Revolut app, and to date, it's the biggest Revolut acquisition campaign to date. Now, in 2020, it was maybe not possible for that campaign to incorporate search, but now in 2023, I sit there and I say, okay, this really fantastic influencer campaign that drives a lot of my thought process, is it possible for that activation to achieve more? Could it leverage search? Yeah, it could. Could we outreach content around that conversation? Could we have the sidemen creating video content that then gets repurposed onto our landing pages and is used to achieve our SEO goals? Can we tie keyword research into it? These are all conversations that I've had that I'm going to present over the next sort of 15 minutes to sort of justify this investment in search integrated influencer. Because when you look at it, influencer is a bit like a bottle of water. It's got that instant, it's got that short-term value, it's high cost over time. We all know if we work in influencer or we work with influencers, at the end of the day, they're expecting to be paid, which means if you want to retain their services, you've always got to be investing money into it. On the flip side, you've got SEO, which is a bit like installing a tap. It takes time, it's got that long-term value, and over time, the cost really sort of dilutes out and you've got low cost over time. So I look at this and I say, okay, can we take the advantages of that bottle of water, the advantages of that tap, and leverage the advantages of both? Because if we can, instead of talking bottles, instead of talking taps, we can be talking full oceans and create full content strategies on the back of it. So the advantages of search integrated influencer then, really quickly, we can be where our audiences are spending time, and this ties in nicely with the conversation we've just had about reactivity and making sure it's relevant. Essentially, if we're doing search integrated influencer justice and doing it properly, we can ensure that our campaigns, our activations, and our content strategies are on the websites or on the platforms that our users are invested in. I don't know about you guys, but especially working in SEO, the last place I want to be after work is on a Google SERP. I'd much rather be engaging with content on TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, and all these other platforms, Discord, Reddit, depending on what I'm searching for. And users are starting to send signals that they're feeling the same. So by adopting search integrated influencer, tying our keyword research into those strategies, we can make sure that we're present on them platforms. We can build community and grow our audiences. So in the Sidemen example, 130 million followers across all of their channels. That's a really good opportunity for us to leverage their community and grow our audience. Maybe we're re-educating people on our brand who are already aware of us, who follow the Sidemen in this example. Or maybe we're bringing new audiences into the fold who follow the Sidemen, and as a result of seeing our content through the Sidemen, follow our brand. And then once again, as I spoke about earlier and can reiterate now, it's about making our content work harder. So it's no good to just be on Google anymore. Can we make our content work harder? Can we put it on the platforms where our audiences are spending time? Get that further engagement, get that further return on investment. So that's sort of advantages. Now we can look at some tactics that we can sort of deploy and leverage. It wouldn't be a PR and link building show talk without talking about digital PR, so let's get straight into digital PR. So again, I like to look at past examples when I'm thinking of where my head's going and where the conversation's going around SEO. And a really good example of organic sort of link building is Charli D'Amelio. Now, for those that don't know, she's a massive, massive TikTok creator. I think at one point she was the biggest TikTok creator in the world. She might still be that, I'm not sure. But essentially, Charli D'Amelio partnered with Dunkin' Donuts to release her own coffee drink. Now, Dunkin' Donuts, they recognise Starbucks, Nero, all these other firms. They're stealing market share. They own the market in that coffee conversation with Gen Z and millennial audiences. So by partnering with Charli D'Amelio, they wanted to show, look, your favourite creator is drinking our drink. You should drink our drink as well. The results of the campaign here, I've put them on to sort of justify why I've used it as an example, but they're not the central view of what I'm trying to get at here. This campaign was able to organically build links. So a publication called Coffee in 3, for example, they're a publication that talk about coffee at great extent. They target Gen Z and millennial coffee drinkers, and they were more than willing to organically cover the Charli D'Amelio example. So they went out of their way to get hold of the drink, test the drink, give their thoughts on the drink, share video content of them getting the drink, because there was huge queues at the time. It was really hard to actually get the drink. Probably similar to what we're seeing with Prime now, going back to the KSI example. And what that is evidencing is that they were able to build links upon audience-centric websites. So by partnering with Charli D'Amelio, not only did they get the partnership on that side of things, but publications went out of their way to cover that conversation due to the Charli D'Amelio link. Reason for this, they know that their audiences are likely interested in Charli D'Amelio just as much as Dunkin' Donuts recognise this as well. So by talking about Charli D'Amelio and that relationship, that drink, they were able to connect with their audiences. From the brand side of things, from a PR point of view, if we can do this strategically and we can plan our influencer activation strategically from the ground up, we can say, okay, this campaign, we're going to target these niche websites and reach out to these niche websites. And we can build links in those spaces where audiences are already spending the time, which goes back to that previous point. They're already invested in, and we can essentially move people closer to that conversion because it's likely that they're already qualified leads. They're already people that are going to be invested in our product, even if they're not aware of us yet. Then there's the idea of new innovative campaigns that break the mold. So I think it's fair to say we're at a stage where maps, infographics, surveys, questionnaires, they're all becoming tried and tested. And as digital PRs, we need to be looking for that next big thing. What's going to be that next campaign that we can sort of reach out to journalists with and basically get their imagination buzzing just as much as ours. This gives us the opportunity to do that. In relation to that, it's a unique positioning and it's a unique offering for journalists. No other brand can say, okay, go try this Charli D'Amelio drink, tell us what you think. Okay, it's something that's completely unique to Dunkin' Donuts, and it means that they've got something that other publications or other brands, can't put in the publication's hands, which means journalists are going map. Oh, what's this? This is different. Let me check this out. Oh, my audience are going to read this. Yes, I'll cover it. Yes, I'll build links. So that's sort of an evolution of digital PR that can sort of happen as a result of search integrated influencer. Then there's another tactic around Google Perspectives. For those that don't know, Google Perspectives is a new feed that's emerging on Google. It's a new sort of search filter. It looks a little bit like, try that again. There we go, big click, Ash. It looks a little bit like this. So essentially what we have is we have a feed that's filled with creator content, filled with user-generated content. There's no brands in sight. And essentially what we have is first-hand experience, first-hand expertise, all showing authority and all building trust, aka fulfilling those EEAT needs that Google are so concerned with these days. Now, as brands, what we can do is we can say, okay, here's my keyword research, here's my search strategy, let me tie that in to my campaign from the ground up. We've made our digital PR efforts, we've identified the publications we want to build links into. Now let's build content and get our creators targeting specific keywords with the content that they create. Can a creator handle a long tail query? Can a creator talk about a specific question that an audience are asking? In other words, can we get them creating our search strategies for us? On the back of getting creators to do that, can we drive a conversation where we're getting users to do that for us as well? And we repurpose all of this content that's going to appear in Perspectives, put it on a landing page, maybe transcribe videos, lift user-generated content and gift those users with free product or free service as a thank you, and basically cover more of the search universe. So Perspectives is going to be a really big part of that. To recap, there's an emphasis on content creator versus branded content when it comes to Perspectives. So it's not enough for us to be basically trying to game the system by you having branded content, trying to rank for Perspectives. That's not the reason that it exists. Obviously, there's a lot of talk around TikTok emerging as a platform, around Pinterest, Instagram starting to take searches away from Google. Perspectives is sort of Google's combating of those systems, saying, look, we recognise that you're looking for creator content, you're looking for that first-hand experience, those expertise, but we can deliver you it within the Google ecosystem more easily than what you can get on the other platforms. There is going to be an emphasis on user-generated content, and can we deploy our keyword research more effectively? So this is the idea again of instead of us creating a long-form blog on how to X, can we work with creators to do that, give them a bit of creative freedom and say, look, we just need you to hit this mark, but we've sort of worked with you previously, we've got that relationship, we trust you, go and create content to handle this query for us. Essentially, the point here is if content is king, experience is most certainly queen. Then there's the element of nurturing better engagement and developing that ROI that I started this talk off with sort of highlighting. So again, over here, we've got that demand generation stuff. Now, historically, these sort of elements would have been quite rigid. Digital PR would have existed to generate that demand. SEO would have been there to capitalize on any demand that you create and to any demand that's generated through search. If we can blur these lines and bring that content closer together, if we can have influencer that's not just there to generate awareness, but is there to handle our search queries, then that's going to nurture better engagement. And at a time when budgets are shrinking, clients have got less available funds due to the market situation that we're in right now, I think it's vital that we're offering brands this opportunity to say, actually, this Sad Men Revolut campaign, it's not just going to generate awareness, it's not just going to get acquisition, but there's going to be that long-term value because we're going to add SEO elements to it, we're going to build links, which means it's working harder for your brand. That might be the difference between a CMO saying, actually, no, you're not having that 100K for that project, versus, yes, you are having that 100K for that project, or whatever budget we're working with. Then there's the expanding search universe. Okay, so for anyone that does or is unfortunate enough to follow me on LinkedIn, this is something that I talk about at length. But essentially what we're seeing is that Google are acknowledging that TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, all of these platforms are emerging as other search platforms. This is one quote that seems to have been on every SEO's mouth for the past year, almost. And then I think one was published on Search Engine Land yesterday that I couldn't quite get into my deck in time. That 51% of women prefer to search on TikTok over Google as well. So we're seeing this migration of users away from Google to other platforms for very particular queries, to be fair. But we're seeing this migration happen. And that means that we have to be putting our content upon those different platforms where our audience is spending time. So it's not enough to just have a landing page that's bringing in traffic from Google anymore. It's about, okay, my influencers are creating content, I've got user-generated content that's appearing on TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, hell, even Twitch. Could we bring Discord, Reddit, I've already said Pinterest, but all these other platforms into the conversation so that instead of search just being a native Google function, all of a sudden it's a search universe, and we can basically make that search universe as small as possible, even though it's expanding as a space. Because instead of a piece of content just being targeting Google, it's across all of these platforms, or as many as necessary. So I realise I've talked tactics, I've told you what it is, I've told you why we should be using it, but you're probably going, okay, sell it to me, Ash. What's an example? Give me an example. So let's talk Sephora. Now, Sephora are a big brand that work to basically sell makeup products, skincare products, those type of things. And they recognised a big problem in the community around black-owned brands and black products. What they noticed is that when you search black beauty on Google, this is what you're greeted with. Now, in terms of the intent of their community, do we think that this matches the intent of people that are looking for black beauty? The truth is absolutely not. So they basically went on a mission, created a narrative to change this. So that what they wanted, what their community needed, is a voice to basically drive change. They created a statement video, which I won't come across, but it's that first one on the left. They've worked with content creators to change that narrative, to drive the conversation around this point, to raise awareness. They partnered with more black-owned brands than ever before to essentially drive this change, connect with their community, and essentially make changes to the intent behind those searches. And the results from this campaign sort of speak for themselves. So we've got 350% CTR versus the benchmark. Importantly for this talk, 700% increase in search, which is fantastic. You've got 1 billion earned media impressions from that statement video and a 36% increase in black beauty product sales, which is fantastic. But I look beyond those numbers and I say, okay, from an idealistic point of view, what was we able to achieve? Well, as a brand, they highlighted a quite vital audience pain point and looked to make a change that everyone wanted. It benefited Sephora as a brand because ultimately they, as much as they care about their community, they're looking to drive sales. So they were able to change that narrative and start to drive sales. And from a community point of view, it started to change that intent on a Google SERP to more accurately reflect the intent behind the search. The big one is that they built relationships. Okay, so they changed the narrative, they brought people into their fold, they aligned the community and essentially pushed this conversation and started this conversation, building relationships as a result. Key takeaway from today, you've probably seen a lot of wrestling gifs through this talk. I hope it comes across, I'm a wrestling fan. But essentially I want to take this quote, every man's heart one day beats its final beat. His lungs breathe their final breath, and if what the man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others, makes them believe deeper, something larger than life, then his essence and his spirit will be immortalised. Now I look at that quote and I say, okay, if I can do that in my content, can I make the blood pulse through the body of my community? Can I make them believe deeper in what we're doing as a brand? If I do, then my content's going to be immortalised in their mind, and my brand's going to be front of mind as a result. Search integrated influencer marketing. Well, I hope that this talk proves that it's uniquely positioned to achieve this. There's my socials. Slides will be on the website afterwards as well. Give me a follow, I really appreciate it. And that's me. Thank you.